This Robert Woods guy is a total fraud. Um, he says he's an apologist. He's a polemic who engages in sort of intense undermining kind of debate that's meant to kind of push hard. Yet he can't take any debate. You know what I mean? He's found a little niche for himself. If you see this here, he spammed me after I started talking about Zoroastrianism, just very upfront, nothing personal, just hey, the history of Zoroastrianism. There's no evidence, even Israeli archaeologists don't believe in the Exodus. There's no evidence for the ancient state of Israel or religion. Herodotus mentions Palestinian Syrians, the ancient Egyptians, Greeks, Persians, never mention Jews. Archaeologists don't believe in it. There should be tons of evidence of the state of the Exodus. There's none. They only come into existence from what we can tell about 400 years before Christ. So after that, I make this comment here on the video where he's saying Muhammad is a white guy, and I criticize the point of the video, which is an anti-white video. He's saying, look, it's bad that Muhammad was a white guy. So he's trying to appeal to people who hate white people, have become Muslims, and go, look, he is whitey and he owned slaves. But why is it bad to be white? So I just pointed that out, and then he responded in this way. And I realized, looked back, all of my comments had been spammed. I can't even find them. There weren't that many, but I can't find the original ones now about Zoroastrianism. I can only find these two. I didn't spend a long time looking, but I couldn't find them readily. So because of my arguments, which he never responded to, about Zoroastrianism being the foundation, the original monotheistic religion, which Judaism and Christianity are based off of, he instead comes at me on this criticism here in a very insulting way. He calls me an idiot. And then he spams my comment. So you can't see it. So only when I'm logged in can I see my response. But no one else can. Just like no one can see any of my other comments on his channel. Now he talks openly about blocking people. He didn't block me, but he just put me in a spam folder, which is kind of the sleazy, kind of corrupt way to sort of block somebody. Do you know what I mean? I didn't block you. I just spammed everything so nobody can see anything that you write. But maybe he likes me or something. He wants to read it himself when he puts his skirt on. But anyway, so I just wanted to point that out because this is the worst kind of Christian. This guy says he's a minister. I mean, it's the worst kind of Christian who does this shit, and who's a critic and is really antagonistic yet can't take any honest criticism of himself, of his own videos, which was perfectly legitimate criticism that I made. I believe in the idea that Christ is a savior, but that he comes in a Gnostic sense, that it's not just a new covenant, it's a new God. Yahweh in the Old Testament is a different God than in the New Testament. There's a demiurge, a false God, okay? And Christ comes to liberate people. And I can get into different discussions of why that is, the use of, I'm a jealous God, thou, shall not worship any other gods other than me, plural. It's not false gods, not idols, it's gods, other gods. What does that mean, right? So I can point to these stuff. I'm not sure if I said the plural thing there, but I got into all this history about Israeli archaeologists and the Exodus not existing according to any trained archaeologist or an ancient state of Judah, and Zoroastrianism being the basis of Second Temple Judaism, and there was no First Temple Judaism of Moses, and of Christianity. He doesn't get into any of that stuff, right? So he just spams me, reacts harshly to me saying, look, okay, Muhammad is a white guy. This is interesting. But you made an entire anti-white video. So what if Muhammad is a white guy? Why is that inherently a bad thing? Couldn't answer that, right? Just spam me. I'm an idiot. Spam me. Block all my comments. And then I made a comment on another video with Richard where he set this thing up like it was a debate between Richard Spencer and this guy named Robert Spencer. And he sets it up in this kind of tongue-in-cheek, hey, you're that white supremacist, Richard Spencer. Everybody online is saying you are. Point is, no, I'm not. I'm Robert Spencer. I'm not Richard Spencer, the white supremacist. But if you look up what Richard Spencer says, he says he's not a white supremacist either. He says he's been labeled a white supremacist, falsely, that he's an identitarian. Now, say whatever you want about Richard Spencer. Robert Woods is doing the same thing to Richard Spencer that he would have you believe he's clearing up with Robert Spencer, i.e., people say you're this white supremacist. Okay, so you must be. but you're not. They're confusing you with the guy who they say is a white supremacist who says he's not, but he doesn't say that part of it. You understand? It's how convoluted it is, and that just shows a real arrogance and a lack of self-awareness by this guy that he would do that, and not be aware of the inherent, hypocrisy and contradiction of the effort. And I think that comes from just, taking on Muslims all the time. It's very easy to take on the Muslims. He's created a niche little environment for himself where he can be a jerk. He can be antagonistic. It's not really about Christ at all. It's just about, I found an easy target, I can go after them. And this is a little niche for me. And I can take off my inherent bad nature in this direction. As he says, he's a psychopath, right? So he can take off his inherently bad nature by finding an easy target and going after it over and over again. In the process, he's become soft. And he doesn't even realize when he creates huge hypocritical contradiction videos. You know what I mean? And, but when he has to face with the history, the real history, and of Zoroastrianism, he can't handle that. He can't handle that, and he has to spam it and make it disappear. You know what I mean? In an underhanded way, which you might not necessarily know. Unless you log out and log in, you wouldn't know you were spammed. Whereas if he blocked you, that would be more obvious and it would look more bad on him. This gives him some deniability, I guess, or something, right? The point is that this is not a good leader. This is not an honest man. This is not a man who really can handle debate or criticism. And I mean, listen, I am probably the best critic debater of the 21st century. Okay? So I can understand if you could identify that and want to just not have to deal with me at all. And this isn't something that takes up a lot of my time. I don't really care about Robert Woods, and I'm not really sure about the whole converting people to Zoroastrianism thing. It seems I haven't figured that out yet. But nonetheless, people, you should be aware of who this guy is. He's not a good guy. He's not on the up and up. He's not. He's found a niche for himself, attacking an easy target, and that's it. It's not. He's not an honest person.